Let's welcome a very special guest. This man is no stranger to the ALF space. Been doing it longer than anyone I've seen. Still to this day, I'm blown away. Some words of that came to mind when I was going over your page and doing like my background research: presenter, communicator, educator, coach, and most importantly, the master prospector, Dr. Robert King. Welcome to the Optimized channel. We can't wait to talk to the audience about your story, and just come out at whatever you want to say, sir, because we all are wondering where this undisclosed location. So you actually came out and just said it. I was wondering if you were going to tell me.
Yeah, I figure I'll tell you just so your listeners could understand that this vehicle, residential assisted living, man, could literally change your life. I mean, people say that oftentimes about things, but I'm telling you, it took a kid like me from Gary, Indiana, an opportunity to take advantage of this. I went to college, man, like half a day. I was in the Navy, and my mama said, "You need to go to college. The Navy's going to pay for it." I'm like, "All right, mom, I'm going to go to college." But I was selling real estate. This was in the 80s. I was in San Diego, California, selling real estate to all the soldiers and all the Navy veterans. And I was making good money, man. Real estate ain't no joke. And my mom said, "Go to college." So I went to college. I went to class. The first class was marketing. I stayed during the morning. And at lunchtime, man, I jumped in my 911 Porsche and I went home. I was like, I don't need to know marketing class. I already know what I'm doing. So I've been an entrepreneur a long time, like literally since, I was 22, 23 years old, which is one of the reasons why I got out of the Navy, is because I was doing so well selling real estate. I've been licensed in 4 different states. Pretty much everywhere I move, I get my license for real estate because real estate has always been my backup. Whatever I'm doing, I always know I can grab a piece of property, I can rehab it, I can flip it, I can rent it. I've done it in every state. I did it in Indiana, California, Florida, and Georgia. And it's the go-to opportunity for me. And so for all your listeners, I know a lot of your guys is following you, Matt, and you're doing a great job exposing the industry to other options with their single family homes. And when we start talking about residential ALF, man, when I saw those two combined together, I'm like, oh my God, this is like incredible. Nobody never told me this. And this is amazing when you take their real estate and the business side and put the two together. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So take me back, because you bounced around in the States back when you were stateside, and take me back to kind of the real estate, how you went from just jumping in the real estate, doing what you do best, natural marketing, to going to the ALF space, because there's just so many people out there, so many listeners that don't know about this untapped industry, this vehicle that when you look at the numbers, when you get into the investment side of it, you start doing the math and you look at single family and then you go to multifamily. That seems to be the only classes that are talked about in real estate. But then you have this ALF, which is it's not quite residential, right? It's not quite commercial. What is it? There's a lot of confusion in the space. Take me back through your story, how you kind of developed in the real estate space and eventually, landed yourself in the ALF space.
Well, what happened with me in the ALF, how I got exposed to it, is that I had a home in Florida, and then I went through a divorce. And through that divorce, I kept the home. That was the most important thing to me. I'm like, okay, I understand real estate, so I'm going to keep the house. So I was able to keep the house. But then the house had so many bad memories in it, and I really couldn't really live in it. I couldn't be comfortable in the house. And so I said, all right, let me figure out a way to get rid of it. But this was in 2015 when this went down, and the market just wasn't good enough for me to make any money. I was going to rent it to a friend of mine, and it wasn't bringing enough income in. I was going to sell it, but it was still kind of upside down, so I really wasn't going to make any money from the sale. And so one day, literally, man, I'm sitting in the house, I'm talking to a friend of mine, and she says, let me call you back. I got to go to this group home and talk to these girls about self-esteem. I'm like, okay, no problem. And that word group home, Matt, that thing just kept ringing and ringing in my head. Group home, group home. What's a group home? From my experience, that was, you take kids in, they troubled, you put them in a home. So I just started doing research. 2:48 in the morning, I get up out of bed, I grab my computer, I research for like 3 days, man. And then I ran across this one statistic says that in 1970, they decided to allow residential homes, houses, to be converted into assisted living facilities. Now, I never seen that before, never heard that before. When my grandmother got ill, we had to take her to the large nursing home because we knew no better. That's all we knew. You get sick, you get old, we can't take care of you, we take you to the large nursing home. I had no idea there was an option for taking my home and making it an ALF. So I researched, and I was in Florida and I started the process, and it was no training, it was no guidance, it was nobody showing me what to do. I made a lot of mistakes. It took me 18 months to get my license because I got the wrong license first because I had no guidance. And then eventually, when I started crunching the numbers, like you said, Matt, and I said, okay, this is a single family home. I got one house, one roof, one door. And you mean in the state of Florida, I could put 8 people, 8 residents in this house and take care of them? And back then, it was like $3,200, $3,300 a month was the average. You mean I could get $3,000 a month from 8 people in this one 4-bedroom house? I could bring in $24,000 a month. And then I got to hire some people to do this because I knew nothing about the medical field. I knew the real estate side. And once I started that process, man, and I'm telling you, Matt, when that first full month hit, when we got licensed, and it only took me 74 days to fill the house. Why? Because I understood marketing. It don't matter what your product is, you need to learn how to market. So I understood the power of marketing. And man, after about 74 days, we had that first full month of 8 residents, averaging $3,000 a month. I get about $24,000, $26,000 coming in that month. And I'm like, what the what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
And from there, I just fine-tuned the whole process. That's how it started with me.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So it really speaks to the space, right? Because you don't need these big box retailers. Everyone, when they think assisted living, they're thinking about those big facility type, institutions, when people are really who wants to bring mom and dad to something like that, right? And the crazy part is, that business model is can be established in a regular residential home, and the returns on your investment are insane when you start comparing it to the different asset classes, right? And I think you realize that way before. I mean, you're a pioneer in this space. I mean, let's be honest here. When I first got in the space myself, Robert King was already an established name, the university. I mean, you have a whole university. I mean, speak to me about this university that you've built from, the ground up, and now you're able to basically live the life of your dreams. And I think a lot of people can really, have set it in their minds. Everyone dreams of going and being on a beach somewhere, but you're literally doing it. You know what I mean? That's the crazy part. And I noticed that little ring earlier, Dr. King. Talk to me about that. I got blinded for a second there, a little too much bling. What's that all about?
I'm never gonna play in the Super Bowl, that's for sure. So,
Tom Brady
over there. Super Bowl fancy rings, never gonna be in the World Series. So what I did was, I created Assisted Living University because it was so many people asking me online, how do you do that? How you do that? I've been wanting to do that for years. I've been trying to find out how you do it. And I'm a soldier, man. I'm a 17-year double vet. I've been in the Navy and been in the Army. So in both of those services, they teach you how to write everything down. You have a log, you have a journal, and the whole purpose of you doing that is so that the soldiers that come behind you, they read your SOP and they follow your steps and they become successful. So that was just taught in me throughout my military career. So what I started doing with Assisted Living, I started writing everything down. I had a big folder. I started writing everything down. I did this went wrong, this went right, this went better. And then people started asking me how I did it. And so I just started giving people advice. And this is how I did it, this how I do it. And then one day a friend of mine said, dude, you ought to make like some kind of training or something. This is a big deal. Nobody knows how to do this. You could speak on stage and tell people. So in 2016, Assisted Living University was birthed, and I had my first live event in Florida, and we had about 69 people fly from all over the United States and spend 5 days with me, man. When I first started, it was 5 days. We just taught and taught and taught and taught. And
Wow.
then people start growing and learning. And then people start saying, hey, I can't come to the live event for this reason, that reason. Do you have anything online? And so it made me realize that, you know what, I got to make this available for more people. So I created a System University online training. So I just sat in my studio and I dropped all the knowledge that I had. And it's 62 training videos in there, man. I mean, literally, I left no stone unturned. Anything they want to know about, from freaking taking the trash out to grocery shopping to hiring staff. I mean, day-to-day operations, I put it in there because I lived in my facility for 2 years. So I started getting people to come to the training. I started getting people to come online. And I was wearing this ring because I created this ring for myself. I said to myself that I'm never going to play the Super Bowl, but I love that ring. So what I'm going to do is when I net $100,000 from this business, I'm going to make this ring. I'm going to design it. I'm going to create it. And it's going to be the $100,000 ring. And I got my logo on the side of it. I got my name, I'm Harmony Homes, and my facility on the side of it. And so I wore the ring at my first event, and everybody was asking me about it. And that's when I realized that, well, how do we get one? How do we get one? I said, all right, I got it. That makes sense. So I created the $100,000 club. Yes, I did. So when you hit 100 grand from your facility, you open it, you get it licensed, and that's when the money start calculating. You hit 100 grand, you send in your proof that you made 100 grand net, because you're gonna average, 200, 250,000 gross, but you got to manage your business properly. Yep. You hit 100 grand net, then I send you a letter. Congratulations. You now have access to the ring. You can order it, put it on your finger, enjoy it. And that's where my baby came from.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that's like the common club everybody wants to be in, right? I mean, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, realistically, I mean, you throw out that number, 100 grand, talking to someone that's thinking about in the space right now, they're on the fence, maybe they're a nurse trying to retire. How long do you think it really takes to get to that ring? I mean, let's say, is that a realistic thing? Because a lot of people out there talk about, 100 grand, like, it can be done. But in your opinion, you're with all your students and all your training, I mean, what kind of timeline are we looking like on something to get to that point?
Realistically, when you get licensed, so that's the process. You got to go through the process, and you got whatever state you're in, and you get your license. Okay, when you get your license, now you literally starting to make the money. You can there's ways to make money before you get your license. It's called pre-license marketing. You can open your facility. You can have an unlimited amount of people, normally 2 to 3 before license. So you can start counting your money then. But once you actually get licensed, now you can go full blown, and you can have your 6, 8, 10, 12 people. So now it's really simple. When you hit that max full house, let's say you average 8 like I did. And right now, the average monthly fees are like $4,200. Everything has increased. But let's just stick so I can teach. I don't like to teach too high, and I don't like to teach too low, because I've been in facilities that was $1,800, $1,900 a month. I've been in some facilities where they was charging $10,000 a month because of the services, the location, and everything, and the level of care. But if you just in the middle and you have a standard facility and you charging $3,000 a month, you're licensed for 8, that's nearly $24,000 a month coming in. Well, you run that for 12 months, that's $250,000 that you got coming in, that annual income, right? Well, it's going to be, if I break it down for those listeners, it's probably going to cost you anywhere between $10,000 to $12,000 a month to run your facility. That's staffing, that's your mortgage, your debt service, because you may have a mortgage. That's all your insurances, that's everything you need. It kind of, no matter what state you're in, it kind of comes into that around $10,000 to $12,000. So you start talking about, I'm dropping $10,000 a month, $11,000 a month to run this facility, but I'm bringing in $24,000 a month because I have a full house. Well, I'm netting $8,000 to $10,000 a month. So you can literally do that in your first year full service license. But the key is marketing pre-license and having your residents be prepared to move in day one.
I mean, if I'm an ALF owner and I'm or not even an owner, I'm actually thinking about getting in the business. I don't know where to turn. I think more or less people that are getting into the space, they want to know, hey, what's the first step? What would you be doing in this situation, if you could do it all over again, you're starting fresh to avoid some of the mistakes maybe that most ALF owners are going through. You know, I don't think most people realize you can have 2 to 3 people in the home before you even get licensed. And I think that's a key part of this, because cash flow is big when you talk about real estate, right? And
Yeah.
people are looking at the real estate, how much it's going to cost me to run a facility. They're thinking about leaving probably their 9 to 5, and they want to make sure that out the gate they're not putting themselves in a worse position by potentially quitting their job, going out on their own, being an entrepreneur. For you, you came naturally, like you said, you're a natural marketer. But for a lot of people out there, they're not, right? They're coming from the healthcare industry. They're used to having that, security of a check. I mean, how do you break that mentality and then tell people that there is hope? I mean, there's a way for them out to get to the point where you've been able to successfully do today, where you're on the beach, you're living, man. I mean, that's what this life's all about. Let's be honest,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be a little biased in answering that question, but because I'm going to say the first thing you have to do now is you need to get training. You need to get somebody to teach you, how to open, own, and operate. And there are a lot of trainers out there now. I've run across a lot of people online, and some of them hadn't even opened their facilities yet, but they're training people how to get to their steps, and that's cool. Do work with somebody that resonates with you. But I always tell people, make sure that somebody's going to train you how to get from point A to point B, that they've already been there. And I'm one of the few. I know there may be a couple other ones, but I know I'm one of the few trainers that actually did all 4 O's. I've opened, owned, operated, and then I've sold a facility.
Wow.
So in order to sell a facility, it has to be profitable. Nobody's going to buy something from you that's not profitable. So I know how it works, and I understand the phases. So what I did was, in my training, when I made it online, I did an actual, what I call, flow chart. It's called Know Your Flow. And what you get on there is that it's 9 different steps that you have to go through in order to get to the successful section of opening your facility. And I wrote those down in this flow chart. And step 1 was, you need to attend Assisted Living University. Well, right now, I'm not doing any live events. I don't want to do live events right now. I don't want to be responsible for bringing people together right now, nor do I want to leave the lifestyle that I have right now to go out and do live events. But I have an online training at Assisted Living University that will walk you through each step. So I always tell people, let my experience curve shorten your learning curve. So you should be able to get in here right away, learn the process, each step of the process. So when you start going down to your building department and you start getting in touch with your aging for the agency in your state, you know the questions to ask because you've been taught the steps. And then I always teach my students, don't get ahead, because it's 9 phases. You can't be trying to focus on phase number 4 when you haven't done 1, 2, and 3. You just have to work the steps. And then when it comes to that marketing, I teach you when's the exact time for you to start pre-license marketing your facility. Once you know that you're going to have this facility in this home, you got your certificate of occupancy, you've been approved by your building department, that's when you start your pre-licensing process. And in that process, you can start making money. Most states allow you to have 2 or 3, sometimes more, residents in your home before you're licensed. So if you got 3 residents coming in, they averaging $3,000 a month, you bringing in $9,000 a month every month, and then you have only 3 residents, so you have less overhead. So you may be generating net income before you even get licensed, $4,000 or $5,000 a month, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 a month, but you're starting to make money. And I always tell my real estate investors, you probably already got a house in your portfolio that you can turn into an ALF. Yep. You got a portfolio, you're looking at this house and you want to flip it or you want to rent it, or you want to make it part of your network. But why not take 1 house, 1 roof, 1 door, and make that baby in your portfolio start generating you that income?
Yep.
And then you can take the income from that and begin to do other things with your portfolio. It depends upon what your vision is. And so it's really simple once you get somebody to teach you the steps. It can be very complicated if you don't know the steps. But once you get somebody to walk you through the steps, And what I love about my online training is that it's 24/7, lifetime. Once you become a student of ALU, you get access anytime you want to any training you want. My students go back to the course and log on and years later and look into this. Oh yeah, let me find out about this. Let me find out about this. Oh, what do I do about my medication again? And boom, they get that idea and they start the process.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, what all that information for the people that are listening out there is so crucial to know those key nuggets that you're dropping on people. And I don't think people really understand how information like that resonates with someone that really doesn't know, trying to get into the space. I mean, the information that you're saying also speaks to your background experience, and I think that's what's really resonating with me. Just listening to everything that you can offer the people out there that are trying to get in the space. I mean, I was reading something on actually last night, and I think that this makes you unique as a mentor. And I think everyone listening, look at Dr. King for mentorship. He's done this. He's walked the lines. He's been through these facilities. He's taught people on a day-to-day, not only taught them, but he actually owned them, brought them up from zero and sold them. So he's done the whole cycle, like you said, and even those 9 steps. I mean, that's unique to you specifically. You've been able to build those 9 steps. But something that I wanted to point out to you, that I've actually found you on, was this ISD mindset, and that comes from your background in the military, correct? And you also talk about this coveted 6x6 grid system. Tell me more about that. Let's get in depth, kind of about what makes Dr. King tick, and being able to bring your experience in the military into the ALF industry.
Well, you said it right there, man. The military, man, you listen, they don't play, especially when it's time for us to go into a foreign country and we got to go in there, and we didn't come in here to play. We really came in here to take over. So military teaches you that mindset. And if you think about the military, even in the United States, the military has their own base. This is our base. We run things our way on our base. We got our own base police. We got our own rules and regulations. We got a big, gigantic gate. We got a big, gigantic fence. You ain't getting on our base without proper authority. That's how we work, right? Okay, so now take this. When we go into a foreign country, we have the same mindset. Okay, we're gonna set up a parameter, and this is our base. This is our command, and here's how we're gonna do this thing. And they teach you this. We got 3 phases of what we're gonna do in this country. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna infiltrate. We're gonna go in here and we're gonna just boom, let them know we are here. We're gonna infiltrate. We're gonna bring 100,000 troops, 200,000 troops, whatever needed. We're gonna infiltrate this country. Then once we get in there, we gotta saturate. And the way we saturate is that we let them know why we're here. We're not just here to play. We're here for this purpose or for this purpose, whatever the mission is. We might be passing out pamphlets to the community. We're saturating the whole community because we want everybody to know that we're here, and here's why we're here. Now, once we saturate properly, then we dominate. Because once we saturated your country and the area that we've been sent for this mission, now we dominate. And sometimes when we dominate, we have to put out martial law. We got patrol. We making sure people are in control, because that's what we came for, right? Okay, you said, what does that have to do with ALF? Well, that was embedded in my mind about infiltrate, saturate, dominate. So when I opened up my facility, I immediately said to myself, how do I infiltrate, saturate, dominate this community? Well, I started letting the people know that I am here. I'm opening up my ALF, and I'm going to have an incredible business here in the community. And then I start saturating by marketing. Boom, I'm passing out business cards. I'm doing the whole system of my shoot, post, send. I'll explain that. I'm just letting everybody know. Everybody knew in my community that I was going to open up an ALF before I even opened up one. And because of proper saturation, then I was able to dominate and literally had people waiting for me to physically get licensed to put mama in. Because the moment I let the community know that I was opening up my facility, my first 2 residents was easy to get. Boop, no problem, we here, let's rock and roll. But it was easy for the other ones because I had ISD. And here's how I did my ISD. And I teach this in my training, and you're so correct. Very few, if any others, can teach this right here with actual confidence because very few have been taught this. It's the 6x6 grid. Now, what that means is before the military touch down in any area, we are going to literally determine what's in our space. Before I put my facility here, I want to do a 6x6 grid. That means 6 blocks, north, south, east, west. And with that grid, from my facility is in the center of that grid. I go 6 blocks, north, south, east, west, and I go in there, and in that grid, I find out my top 10 places to prospect. Who do I talk to? Where are the rehab facilities? Where are the nursing homes? Where are the funeral directors? Where are the churches? Where are the people that I can talk to that has the power, the ability, and the influence to fill my house? And so I teach that grid in my training. And my students that do those grids and do it properly, oh man, getting the house full is a breeze because they know, and I teach them this. When you leave outside of your grid, 6 blocks, north, south, east, west, you get out of your house, you leave out your grid, and you go to the grocery store. When you're in the grocery store, you should be saturated. You should be passing out your business card, passing out your brochure, because everybody knows somebody who mama needs a place. You should be letting people know your 3 W's, who you are, where you at, what you have to offer. Now watch this. When you driving back from the grocery store and you coming back to your facility, you coming through your grid, you should stop at one of those places, if not 2 of those places, and show your face. You should I teach people all the time, the most powerful 4 words that every business owner should know is, hi, my name is. Those are the most powerful 4 words. So you walk, you're driving back to your grid, you leave in the grocery store, you stop at the nursing home. Yes, you stop at the large nursing home. You let your face be known. You let your name be known. You tell them who you are, what you do, what you have to offer. My first 2 residents, when I first got licensed, came from a nursing home, a large box facility that the people could no longer care for them because it was too big, and they sent them to me. Well, why did Tom, the director of the nursing home, send these residents to me versus everybody else? Because he knew who I was. You understand?
Yeah.
And in my training, see, real estate investors, as a real estate investor myself, we're all about that revenue. Can I get this piece of property, and what is it going to generate me, and what is it going to do for me? Well, you want a quick start. You want to be able to get in there, get it up, get it going, and then you get it licensed, and then you start making money. So you have a choice. You're a real estate investor. You don't want to be an ALF day-to-day operator. You're a real estate investor. So you start looking at your income and you say, okay, well, if I come here every day and help with the staff and everything, then I can generate $10,000, $12,000 a month net. But if I hire somebody to do all that for me, yeah, maybe I'll make $7,000, $8,000 a month, but I don't have to be here every day. It's just their preference on how they want to do it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, I think that mindset is everything that you mentioned there. You got to get them out of that, sheep mentality of that 9-to-5 thinking. And now they really have the ability to be able to, if they can break that through, but a lot of that starts right here in their mind, right? Because not everybody out there, I mean, and I think you know, they don't have that, extrovert type, marketing, from my perspective, not everyone can go up to someone, but they have to be able to break that, right? And they have to be able to go shake hands. I mean, I always say fortune's in the follow-up. You got to be able to go out there and do that guerrilla marketing, really is what you're talking about doing on that 6x6 grid, and let everybody know, hey, I'm here to stay. You know what I mean? This is where I'm at. And I think you even mentioned it in one of your YouTubes, is you say if they haven't got a card from them yet, and they don't have your card already, then they don't know who you are yet, right? And when people Google you, if you're trying to really build a presence in a local market, if you can't find you on anywhere on the socials, let's be honest, we're all scrolling, we all have the same phones. If you can't find you you don't exist. You might be doing all that flyers and all that stuff, but in reality, you got to get a social media presence as well. And I think that's really big about your whole training, is that you're really telling people up front, hey, these are the steps that are going to work. These are commandments. How you call it the 9 steps, but it's like the commandments of the ALF industry. What I mean, more or less, you know what I mean? If you want to be successful, you know what I mean, in the space, it's real estate, but you have to come with the right mentality overall. and,
Yeah,
be willing to go.
and I know you're right. Everybody don't have that marketing drive that be able to go out there and do that. So, you're absolutely correct. So, as part of what I teach is that, okay, if that's just not you, and your palms get sweaty and you get nervous every time you try to talk to somebody, and by the time you get past all that, they're already gone. If that's you and you can't do it, then you're right. You have to go to the social media. You got to get behind the scenes and go to the social media. So I teach this, one of the strategies that really just rocks all my students' mind is let me slow it down. It's the shoot, post, send. So what that means is you shoot a video of your facility. You can have your grandkid do that. You stand behind your phone, you shoot a video, and then if you're just opening your facility, you haven't got it open yet, you're telling them about it's coming and here's how it's going to look. It's going to be awesome. Okay, once you shoot it, then you post it to a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have a YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. And the reason you want to post it to your YouTube channel, because now you're going to get a link to it. And then once you get that link to it, now when you're out and about communicating with people and you just really not that kind of person that does a lot of talking, you can literally just give somebody a link straight from your phone, straight to their phone. And before you even leave the grocery store, they're already looking at your video on how your place is going to be. You telling them your story and how you're going to take care of their mom. That's just one way, along with all the other social media platforms. So you're absolutely correct. And I want to not forewarn, but I want to give caution to all the people who's watching this, who is considering opening up an ALF as part of their portfolio, is that you got to get the marketing training down. You just have to. If not, right now, the biggest struggle that most ALFs are having is not enough residents. And I did a survey about 2 or 3 months ago, because I'm chilling, Matt. I ain't trying to work. I'm just enjoying life. But I kept seeing posts about, I need residents. Can you help me with this? I help a lot of the newbies, and they was like, "What about us? You do all your training with the newbies. What about us? We've already opened our facility, and we did it before you got into the business. Now we don't. What do we do? Can you train us?" So I did a survey. What do y'all want me to teach y'all? What do you need? And over 1,000 people answered the survey, and the number one issue was not enough residents. They can't be profitable. They can't stay in business. They're considering closing next year. And it just tore my heart apart. So I just said, all right, boom. I combed my hair. I brushed my teeth. Took my shades off. I got in the studio, and I literally for like 3 months produced a training called FeelMyHouses.com.
Wow.
And in that training, I gave them step by step on what they have to do to fill them homes. It was tearing at my heart. So now I'm letting all the people who listen to you now, the newbies, they'll be able to get that information, because it makes no sense to open a facility and then go to it every day and you only got 2 residents and you licensed for 8. You're not going to stay in business.
Yeah, there's no way to, keep the lights on when you're running it like that. And then that's going to seem like a drain rather than it's supposed to be getting you away from,
Exactly. You create another job for you then.
Yeah, working in your business rather than on your business. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, and one of the things I looked at, you said there's a big mistake that ALF owners are making right now in networking. Can you talk a little more about what that mistake is, what people are doing, so when they're getting in the space, they can avoid it? I mean, that's really, when they get into your class, into your university, I mean, you're able to let them skip over all the steps that maybe you had to struggle through, and probably lost a ton of money along the way to learn all this. Because like you said, there wasn't a training like the assisted living university back when you were starting. So you've created those, 62 you said? I mean,
yeah.
62, that's incredible. I mean, I can't think of too many courses out there that have that much training, and then to know there's 62 courses to be able to get in there, and it's lifetime membership. So there's no excuses for the people that are on the fence right now listening that you can't have someone like yourself train them. I mean, you're the best experience is someone that actually is in the business. A lot of times people go to school to learn. And I think from the healthcare industry, they all spent those years in going to class, nursing or doctor, and they know how to read the books. But I bet they could speak to, hey, being in a surgery, actually doing a surgery versus reading about it in a book. You can't tell a doctor how to do that. And I think that's the same thing you're saying right now with, hey, this is what's worked. This is what's working in the industry. If you want to avoid empty beds, because I think that's most people's fear right now is having empty beds. How am I going to get my first patients? How am I going to keep this place alive? You know, so what was that mistake that you mentioned in some of your earlier interviews that people are making right now when it comes to networking?
The biggest mistake that I find, it really all boils down to they're not telling enough people about their opportunity.
Yeah.
They're just not. Listen, you're going to make mistakes in the licensing process. I don't care who you are. I don't care who trained you. I don't care. It doesn't matter how many policy and procedures you find. It doesn't matter how many SOPs you put together. It doesn't matter how organized and how laid your facility is. You can have the most beautiful flooring. You have the best couches, the best beds. You got them CDO, PDO plastic beds, and you got all that beautiful stuff. And everybody's looking good. Your staff got the freaking scrubs on. Your curb appeal is tight. Somebody drive by your place, it's beautiful. Your yard looking good. All of that is sweet. You got that down. But if you ain't got no residents, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
So the biggest mistake that they're making now is you have to wear so many hats when you first get started.
Yep.
You got to be the administrator, you got to be the trainer, you got to be the person to hire, interview people, you got to be the accountant, you got to be the guy to make sure that the water stays on, you got to make sure the yard stays cut. Sometimes you got to change the toilet seats. So you got a lot of hats that you got to wear in the beginning of building your business, right? But what happens is at time, the biggest mistake is that they put all those administrative hats on and they are an ALF administrator. They're an ALF manager. And then they have a difficult time transitioning from that to an ALF marketer. So what I teach people all the time is that how we make money in this industry is with residents, period. And however many you're licensed for, that's what you need to fill your house with. So I did this one video on daily activity of an ALF marketer. So if you got 24 hours in a day and you live off site, you live in your own house with your wife and your kids, you wake up in the morning, you go to your ALF business, now you're inside of the house, and I'm like, what are you doing in the house? You got staff for that. Why are you going to the house every day, sitting there down, standing around, looking at your staff? Why are you opening up that cabinet again? The same medicine that was in there yesterday is in there today. So what are you doing with your daily activity? So what you should be doing, and I teach them this, at least minimum, I'm talking minimum. I'm talking for the guy that just don't want to do it, at least minimum daily, at least 3 to 4 days a week. You should be marketing for at least 4 hours.
Okay.
Within your grid. Now watch this. Once you start to dominate your grid, 6 blocks, north, south, east, west, then you expand your grid. My grid expansion went from 6 blocks to 6 miles to 50 miles. My facilities was licensed in Lehigh Acres, Florida, and I had people literally in Sarasota, Florida, bringing me residents.
Wow, I'm in Sarasota right
now. Because I expanded my grid search by letting people know where I'm at, because I had already dominated close to my facility. So the biggest mistake people are making now is thinking, and this is a myth, and I did a video on this, build it and they will come. Don't worry.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
you have to expose it and then they will come.
Okay. I mean, for all the listeners out there, I think that there's nothing that's more true right there is they go through this analysis paralysis, and what happens is they just are consuming content, and maybe in consuming courses and consuming best practices and trying to be the marketer, and like you said, trying to be the janitor, and they need to figure out what they do best in the organization, whether and I think that's one of those key factors is, are you going to be doing the marketing? Are you going to be doing, the day-to-day operations from a healthcare background? Are you the investor in the equation? Is figuring out what your role is in the organization and then delegating all the tasks after you kind of get it up and going. But at the beginning, a lot of people are like, hey, I just couldn't afford to bring on staff. And that's probably why a lot of people wear a lot of hats. But going into this, you know, they really need to understand that, like you just said, you got to fill those beds, bottom line, one way or another, whether you're the one walking in or you have someone walking into, you know, to let people know about you, you have to focus there, because without those beds filled, you're not going to go far, regardless of how nice, like you said, the curb appeal is or how beautiful the inside is. It really doesn't matter until those beds are actually filled. So marketing is one of those key takeaways that you're saying. I mean, if you could do it all over again, I mean, you would, you know, remember 20 years ago, 30 years ago when you started this, right? You would tell people, hey, get your marketing game on, because get your marketing face on, because if you're going to get into this business, that's going to be a make or break on whether your ALF is successful or not, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I give them a big ray of hope, because I say this to them: if you're licensed for 8, and I promote 8, because when you start going 9, 10, 11, 12 more, you get more into the commercial requirements. You got to have like a commercial refrigerator, commercial washer and dryers. If you stay 6, 7, 8, you stay more, you know, residential. So if you 6, 7, 8, like I was, 8 residents, think about this. You only need 8. There's like 800,000 elderlies probably in your community, in your state. You only need 8.
Wow.
So what you have to do is you got to go out there and grind it for a period of time. And then once you get that pump flowing and you got that pipeline full of referrals, you got that pipeline full of people who have the power, ability, influence to open and fill your facility, then what happens is we're in the elderly business. One person may pass away. When you lose somebody and they pass away, you don't have to go out there and hump so hard. All you do is let your network know that you have a rare opening. And dude, we never went past 45 days without a new resident.
Wow.
Because I just let the network. And at that time, Matt, I wasn't even doing the day-to-day operations. I had somebody else doing the day-to-day operations for me. And when we lost a residence, I just, boom, she called me and she let me know. All right, no problem. Boom. I just picked up the telephone personally and started contacting all my directors of facilities, my funeral home directors, just letting them know, hey guys, how you doing? This is Dr. Rob. I just happen to have a rare opening. And boom, before you know it, boom, we got somebody being sent to us. So I would keep emphasizing, and I will. I know you're right, man. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of analyzing. There's a lot of people who ask questions about policy and procedures and standard operating procedures, and all that stuff has to be done. But very rarely do I hear people asking, and I'm in a lot of these ALF groups, very rarely do I hear them asking about marketing. What I hear them saying is that, can you guys help me? I need 3 residents, or I need 2 residents, or I saw one girl post the other day and just hurt my heart. Matter of fact, I even reached out to her and called her because she was like, if I don't get 3 residents by the first of the year, I'm gonna have to close. And so I'm like, I talked to her. She's been in business for 2 years. She's never been full. She's never had more than 4 residents. She's licensed for 6. And she's like, my husband's telling me if I don't fill the house up and start making money, I'm gonna have to close. So that's what's happening, and I'm trying to prevent that. I'm trying to get these investors to understand that I might have to grind a little bit to get this place full, but once I put that in place, it'll just kind of be on autopilot and it'll just flow. And then they can step away and create what I call a no pressure lifestyle, which is what it's all about. It's about eventually getting away from the day-to-day operations of your facility and enjoying life. That was my biggest issue, man. I work, and I had no. And if I got a minute, Matt, I want to tell a real short situation about why I decided to sell my business. Because I had been running it successfully for 5 years, and I was doing well, and I was making money, and I wasn't there anymore. After 2 years, I moved away, and I moved like 2 hours away from where my facility was. So it was just clocking. It was running. I was generating $7,000, $8,000 a month net to me. It was flowing. And then I started teaching ALU all over the United States. And I even went to Costa Rica and spoke there with an interpreter walking with me, because the industry needs help so much. But I'm in San Mateo, California. I'm on stage. It's about 6,000, 7,000 people in the audience. I'm teaching my heart out. They gave me an hour. I'm rocking and rolling. People getting excited. I get off stage. People want to ask me questions. So I stay around for a while. Then when it's all said and done, I go back to my suite. They had comped me in this beautiful suite and everything. And dude, I'm totally alone. I'm with nobody. I'm depressed. And I said to myself, this ain't how it's supposed to be. Watch this. I am physically banked up, but I am spiritually bankrupt. I'm personally bankrupt. I have no personal life. I have nobody to share my success with. I'm just work, 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 work. I'm out of shape. I can't run far. I'm eating wrong. I'm overweight. For what? For killing myself. And that's when I decided that I'm going to sell my business. And this is what you real estate investors need to get from this story is that you got to make sure that, like Magic Johnson taught, you got to have an exit strategy. You got to make sure that your business is sellable. People focus on having their business being scalable, and that's important, but is it sellable? Have you set it up where it can be sold? And one of my previous students who was going through another course and he happened to see me and then he bought my course. And then one day out of nowhere, man, the perfect timing, him and his wife just called and said, hey, we just checked out your course and we're all excited. We're over in Maryland and we were going to open up a facility, but we thought we'll ask you, would you feel like selling yours? What about yours? Can we just buy yours? And your system, the whole 9 yards? And that it was perfect timing. I said yes. It took us about 11 months to get it sold because they bought it July 2020 in the middle of the pandemic.
Wow. Wow.
So for all you real estate investors, you want to know if it's profitable. You want to know, can you license it, build it, and sell it? Yes, you can. Because in the middle of a pandemic, an investor, he and his wife out of state, bought my facility and we closed July 2020.
Wow. Well,
and that's why I'm hanging out on the beach, baby.
Well, when I joined this industry, a little story for you, I was like, we need to make this business sexy. There's nothing sexy about this silver tsunami. And I was mistaken. I hadn't met Robert King yet. You know what I mean? That's the truth. You know what I mean? The 100K club. I mean, anyone out there listening, I know wants to be part of that club, and you're living it every day. And some last words, and how do people find you, Robert? Because I think that's the biggest thing. I saw is that ALFownership.com was one of the sites. You've mentioned Fill Your Beds. I mean, how do people get a hold of you? I know myself, I want to jump in the course myself right now and join your, steps to get to that point where you can be in Panama doing the lifestyle. At the end of the day, I don't think it's about money. It has to be about a quality of life that you're after, right? You need to have that why factor, why you're getting in this business, because it's not just about the money. There's a lot more to it. If you could speak on that to kind of wrap things up, because we got 6 minutes left, and I want to make sure everyone can find you by the time they are done with this interview, because I think you are a unique person in that you've been able to take a lot of the strategies that were just groomed into you just from your own experience, and you've been able to take, for example, a military type background and bring it to the ALF space. It's amazing what you've been able to accomplish, and I think we all can take so much from that. I'd love to be one day in the same position you are, and I think a lot of our listeners are as well.
Okay, man, I really appreciate that. The best way to find me is the ALFownership.com. If you go to ALFownership.com, and that website is designed to just really teach you, and it's a long page. There's a lot of information on there because I really want you to see what I'm giving you. And what I did, there's like a 20-minute video. You really need to watch that, because what I did in that video, I literally take you to my back office and I show you all my training, because people are like, oh my God, 62, really? That's a lot of training. So I kind of show you what I'm offering you, what I'm giving you, letting you know. And then once you kind of get in there and you become a student, you purchase, then you get part of my private Facebook group, where now I'm communicating with you on a regular basis. And more importantly is you get part of the support system. The support system means that if you're watching one of my training videos, and inside the videos are a lot of downloads, like the steps that I told you about, the flow chart, you could actually download that, laminate it, stick it on your wall. Now you're looking at it every day. So that's in there. And then you get to ask questions. If you're watching the video and you have a question, concern, you type that baby in, and I personally answer all of those questions. So now that's how you reach me, ALFownership.com. It's ALFownership.com. I got a bunch of different domain names out there, but that's the main one that'll get you to what you need to be fulfilled in trying to learn this business. Now, what I'm gonna do for you, Matt, That's your new nickname, Matty Matt. What I'm gonna do for you, Matty Matt, because you're a person that's really trying to get that knowledge to the people out there, and you like, hey man, I'm excited. I want to start your course now. I am going to personally give you totally free, full access to my entire course.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
When
That's
this is
huge.
when this is over,
Dr.
you're
King,
gonna
I can feel my ring. I gotta go get this sized up right now. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
you gotta get sized up now. You gotta get sized up.
I want
When
my
this
ring.
is over, you send me the email that you want me to send it to, and I will personally, I won't even turn it over to staff. I will personally go in there, put your email address in there, and give you full access granted to the training course. And then you'll have total access like everybody else. You can go in anytime you want, check out those 62 videos, learn, train, do whatever you want to do. That is me giving back to you for you trying to so hard to get this knowledge to the people out there in the real estate game. How about that?
Wow. I mean, that is, you know, I really appreciate that. I mean, that's huge from you, Dr. King. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to jump in the course. I mean, and just you sharing that, this game with us, these nuggets for people out there on the fence. I mean, it's just an amazing opportunity right now, especially. They're not too late. I mean, you've been doing this for 20, 30 years, and you were a pioneer back then, but everyone was talking about this whole baby boomer transfer of wealth, and that's happening right now. So I think people really need to understand that, well, if you've been on the fence, you haven't missed it. A big thing with business and getting into business is timing, and there's never been a better time to get into the ALF space than right now. It's really about to just explode for the next 10 years. All the indicators say it's going to just through the roof. You know what I mean? All the baby boomer generation, our parents, it's all happening right now. So if you can, maybe we should even create a code for the listeners out there that are listening right now that could get over to the university because they watched this interview right here. Because I think now that they're, you know, absorbed and they know who you are, it's a matter of getting them to the site. Let's get them stop, you know, procrastinating, stop being an analyzer, and actually start taking some action. Because at the end of the day, you could have 62 courses and modules. You could have 100, but if you're not executing on the information that you're bringing, then really it doesn't matter how, you know, what you're listening to or who your mentor is. It's about executing on the principles that you've laid out for them step by step and saving them all that time. So, you know, I really appreciate all the time you've spent with us. If there's any last words for the community or anyone that, you know, is trying to get a hold of you, if you want me to get them over to your site, and that's where we're going to send them. But any last words for before
yeah, man, I agree with you 100%. Just go for it, man. You can, yeah, eventually at one point you got to stop crunching the numbers and you got to get out there and make it happen. So, you know, make it happen. We're here for you. You know, I mean, every great player has to have a great coach. You can't get in the game without having a coach. And so, you know, if you want me to be that person, if I resonate with you, I just keep it real. When you watch my first video, I tell you right off the bat, listen, I'm just got to be me. I'm going to teach the way I know how to teach. You know, I don't have the best vocabulary in the world, and I may bust a vowel and tear up a noun. And yeah, they call me Dr. Robert King, but don't get it twisted. I'm just a kid from Gary, Indiana. And if I can just be me and teach you how to get where I have been in this industry, then that's all that matters to me. I just want to see people win. I want to see more people be in a position while they're still young to be able to walk away from all the work that they've done, let that baby be on autopilot, and just enjoy life, man. My house that I have here, I named it Casa de la Paz. In Spanish means house of peace. I have nothing but peace, man.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Can't wait to see you on the other side.
All right, man. Thank you much.
Thank you. Later, baby. Thank you. Appreciate everything.
Thanks for the interview, man.